Hey yo, it's your girl JJ, and today we'll be talking about Rude and Reno, the duo that's most known in Final Fantasy VII. I mean, there's no debate that they're better than Biggs and Wedge because they have more screen time. But can we talk about how well they fit each other? Like, I know a lot of people didn't like their representation in not Crisis Core. Advent Children. I don't really remember what they did in Crisis Core either, besides the last part where they're trying to deliver Zack's letters to him. But every moment with them together is precious. I don't know why, but they just fit so well together. With Rude with his calm, cold personality, and then with Reno with his angry, super hyperactive personality. I still remember the part where he's just climbing up like a monkey in Advent Children. In Remake, they're just funny together by themselves. They do the job, like they are serious about their job, but whenever they are together, they have their goofy moments. Tell me you guys were not cracking up when you saw Reno be so dramatic about Rude thinking he died, and then Rude just comes up to him like, bro, you think I'll go down that easily and just whip out his second sunglasses? That was so funny. I don't know why, but it just works for this duo. So I believe Reno is supposed to be the match for Cloud, while Rude is the match for Barrett, and then Tifa is the match as Elaine. Even though we don't see Elaine until later on, I was even aware of her assistance because she was barely seen in Advent Children, and I think the copy I have doesn't show her at all. So I didn't even know she was a part of the cast whatsoever, especially since I didn't play original Final Fantasy VII. Now, unlike Biggs and Wedge, you can talk about Rude and Reno separately. For example, Rude has a crush on Tifa that was just spoken about in the middle of nowhere, which you can actually see a homage to when they are in the airplane and Tifa comes up and Rude intentionally makes Reno miss the attack so Tifa doesn't get hurt. Oh my goodness, that part was precious. No matter how reckless they may act, they always have each other's back, which I find really commendable, especially since they're supposed to be just business. But you can see that there's more than just business when it comes to those two. Those two have a true friendship, even probably brothers in a sense. Now, I don't know much about Reno's background because, again, I still have not finished everything when it comes to Final Fantasy VII content. But I know Rude actually dated someone who was a member of a terrorist group, something like that. He was dating someone who was opposed to Shinra's ideals. That reminds him of Tifa, which is why he has his crush on Tifa and, tries not to hit her. You can also see that he tries not to hit any girl that's in the party. He tries to put them to sleep and then whack them to sleep so they stop fighting. Rude does seem like the straight man of the group. However, he does have his moments where he just goes out of character and becomes astonished, such as in Advent Children where he just gasps at the sight of Bahamut. I'm sorry, just talking about this group just makes me laugh because they try to be serious but still come up with goofy moments at times. Like, even when he's fighting Cloud and Aerith and he's like, dang, I gotta go because Reno decides to call up his you know what, and says, yo, get back, we need you right now. And he's like, alright, I'll be back. And he tells Aerith, hey, try not to steer too far from the slubs. And she's like, no promises. So he just like when the plane comes out. And you gotta love the fact how he always has a pair of glasses on him. Like, it's not even extra. He probably has like 20 extra pairs of glasses for no apparent reason. Like, he really, like, let me continue this drip, even though it's probably costing me an arm and leg. Reno, however, he has his fair share of iconic moments. Like, when, he gets out the plane and is like, don't take it personal! I'm not gonna finish it, but you know what I'm talking about. Even though it's totally personal, because he hates Cloud's guts, at least at this time. Oh my goodness, do you guys remember when Cloud just shuts the door on Reno's face and having children? Like, yo, Reno gets pushed around even though he's really skillful. I don't even understand why, but it just works. I would have loved to have seen their inclusion in Kingdom Hearts, which apparently Barrett was supposed to be included in Kingdom Hearts, but I would have preferred Root and Reno to be in Kingdom Hearts, even though I feel like that would be an oversaturation of FF7 characters. But honestly, just in the next Kingdom Hearts game, can we just get all the Final Fantasy characters, to be honest? At least have all the FF7 characters I'm playing. You probably can't do that, but like a lot more of them, especially Root and Reno, because I cannot imagine their interaction with Sora. I should have probably waited until I finished FF7 to make this video for them, but honestly, I feel like you could get their character dynamic with just part 1, and they were barely in part 1, so that says a lot. Even if you didn't see Crisis Core or anything of the sort, you would know that Reno, he wants to get his job done, but he tries to do his style. He tries to put that machismo energy, while Root is just like chilled, cold, collected. He's like, all right, I guess we'll get the job done. You know, no time to think, just do. I should note that whether or not Shinra is seen as the villain or not, they are loyal to Rufus. You see more of it in a way to smile, and you know they're taking care of him when he has the geostigma disease, which I just want to know why they're so loyal to, you know, the Turks and Shinra in general, because, you know, Shinra is seen as the bad guys, but they just do their job, no questions, knowing that, you know, there will be consequences, and they do it even knowing that they could potentially die, as as you've seen in Remake Part 1, where Reno was in a disastrous state after fighting in Chapter 12 for the fight of survival. Curious as to how their relationship with Ellen is. I know there are other Turks as well, but OG FF7 only focuses on Dostri and Song. I never finished FF7 OG still. It's taken me quite a while. I just can't get into the playstyle. So I hope Remake Part 2 comes out soon and I get to see what their dynamic is with Ellen as well. Even though she might not be the fleshed out of the bunch, as she was not included till later on. She's more related, you know, stuff with Song than she is with like Reno and Rude. But yeah, honestly, sometimes Reno and Rude steals the spotlight in FF7, and I really want to see what Part 2 has in store for them. What is up, everyone? This is JJ Beats here, and today we'll be talking about Marlene Wallace, the daughter of Barrett, or to say adopted daughter of Barrett, because her real father is dying, happened to have gone crazy but presumed dead after the events of what had happened in Barrett's hometown. In Remake, she is overseen by Barrett, Tifa, and Almira after the incident occurs in the slums. Chapter, The Fight for Survival. She is very nice and does not talk to strangers, as mentioned, because she listens to her dad, whatever he says, and she loves to hang out with others. In Remake, she's seen with short hair and a pink dress. However, later on in the series, in Advent Children, she tends to grow out her hair and begins to wear a white dress and a pink bow to have a similar design to Aerith did in FF7. The events of FF7, she is currently taken care of by Cloud and Tifa, who she sees as a mother and father figure when Barrett goes on his journey. In Remake, however, she is seen to perhaps have abilities similar to Aerith, or understand that there's a higher being, as she was able to sense something from Aerith during her time with her. For some reason, the ghost decided to show her while they're in the graveyard. Was also able to sense that her dad was calling out to her, or that they were thinking about one another in the ending of Remake Part 1, while Barrett is traveling around the world and she stays at Elmira's house. Prior to the events of Remake, she was homeless and just living day by day, having a cup of juice at the Seventh Heaven bar, while she had looked worn in her torn dress, as well as had a whole bunch of dandruff in her hair. It was because of Tifa and Marl's help that she able to have the clothes that she has now, as well as live in the bar with her dad underneath the pinball machine. She tends to show that she's cheerful and happy. However, whenever her dad goes on the bombing missions, she feels nervous and feels like something bad will happen at any moment. However, she does understand that it has to be done for the planet, as Barrett likes to say, and she doesn't make too much of a fuss about it, as she knows that he will come back for her. At least like to hope that she will. Later on, she develops somewhat of a sibling bond with Denzel and Abbott children. However, since he has not been mentioned in Remake yet, that part of her still may be unknown to some. However, she is very shy around strangers, as you see in Remake when she hides from Cloud, even though he didn't do anything, just because her dad warns her not to talk to strangers. Not much is really known about Marlene. However, it does seem like Remake is trying to make her more of a prominent character, as with her abilities we may or may not have seen in Remake Part 1. But we do know that she enjoys being around the ones she loves, and she will help them however they need to. It was also her idea to rename the bar Seventh Heaven when they had rebuilt it in Abbott children. Marlene has no idea that Diner is his father, because she was 2 when that whole accident had occurred, and only remembers Barrett. I wish we get to see more of Marlene, as we do know she does make it out alive past FF7. However, not much is mentioned of her in Dirge of Service, so I don't know what happens to her after Advent Children, but it's safe to assume that she was living happily with Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett at that point, as well as Denzel after his geo stigma had healed. Can we take a minute to just point out that she is not fazed by a gun? Considering how Barrett just walks around with one on his arm the whole time. Hello everyone, this is JJ Beats here, back again with another character analysis, but you know it's not gonna be all that serious. And this time it's gonna be on the matchmaker Maro. Now, we don't see Maro for a majority of the game, like she's barely in it, but it's more what she does in the novel. Now, Tifa and Maro met when Tifa was getting her surgery and recoveries and whatnot after the incident that happened in Nibelheim and her getting cut by Sephiroth. Now, Maro had a bunch of back problems, which she loves to discuss, because she's like, oh man, back in the day I could get any guy, but now with my back, oof, such a hard time. And you know, Tifa got a scar around her chest area, which took about 4 years to fully recover. Now, she doesn't meet up with Tifa again until she's about 18. I could be wrong with the ages because, you know, it's a translation and it's tough when you don't know the native language. And she's actually the reason why Tifa owns the bar. You see, when they meet up again, she offers Tifa a better place to stay and to help out with the owner of the bar until he passes away. Now, the motto where she says you can't look out for anyone but yourself is somewhat of a hypocrisy, as she likes to meddle in the affairs of others, even though she tells Tifa not to. And once she sees Tifa meddling with Barrett, she's like, well, I can't have you one-up me. They were serving from around 11 to 5 o'clock every day because the owner got sick, which meant they couldn't make cocktails as Tifa didn't know any of the recipes. And one day they saw Barrett come in as to get his usual cup of coffee and a juice. Tifa, being her kind self, decided to help him out, even though Marl told him not to. Even though Barrett had his rough attitude, he eventually gave in after Tifa's kindness, and they managed to live in the bar because of Marl's help, him and Marlene. Now, Marl herself knew about Avalanche for quite a while and has always warned Tifa not to get too involved with it if she doesn't know what's going on. She tells Tifa lots of advice during her times in the slums when they began meeting up. Outside of what happened in the novel, we do see Marl when Cloud is introduced, and she has a rough attitude towards him at first because she actually knows a bit about him and Tifa. Like, she doesn't know a lot besides friends, but she knows how to read the air and atmosphere and can tell that Tifa feels more than just friends and that Cloud may not be listening wholeheartedly as he should. He's just going through the motions rather than actually feeling it and worrying about her Tifa herself, though he does show it in his own way. She is known as a matchmaker, so it's pretty understandable as how she could see through Cloud's and Tifa's facade, or you know, that they're just friends. She kind of knows they both want to just be more than friends, but she lets them take it at their own pace. You know, you can't really force that, but you could kind of give a little bit of a nudge to help them finally acknowledge what they feel for one another. The next time we see her, she is helping with leading everyone to safety during the fight for survival. She meets up with Aerith, tells her where Marlene is, and helps everyone else who needs a lending hand. It's worth noting that she likes to act pretty rough and tough, but deep down, she's a kind and caring person, as you see when she starts warming up to Cloud. She also takes care of Marlene whenever they need assistance. At least they did in she did in the Trace of Two Paths. She thinks of Tifa as her own grandchild, and although Barrett and her were pretty rocky at first, she started warming up to him too, knowing his situation, but she didn't want to butt in as she usually does. She does come back a bit later on if you do decide to do the Don Corneo quest, in which you help find a bunch of jewels and whatnot, which will help them be able to build back up to Sector 7, along with them wanting to help you in return by what it seems to look like that they will help build back the bar. You also see her rescuing people still when the fight for survival has ended. It looks like she will be coming back as a recurring character, even if she does not have a big part, as she is a minor character. But it's good to see that she loves to help others and that she's probably going to help us again in the future, or, you know, give us a home again in Sector 7 when the battle ends. It wasn't a big analysis as the other previous ones were, but I hope you guys enjoyed it regardless. Please let me know which video you'd like to see next. I'll probably just keep making the ones I feel like in the meantime, since I don't really have much of an audience right now, but I hope we could grow slowly and steadily. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more content like this, please make sure to subscribe or hit the like button if you want more. This is JJ Beats signing out. Hope you guys have a good one. Nobody's in Squirtle Squad. Peace out. Bye. Hello everyone, this is JJ Beats back again with another character review that's in my opinion, so don't take it word to heart. The two I'll be talking about is the dynamic duo Wedge and Biggs. Usually Wedge and Biggs has a different role, but they are a reoccurring gag character where Biggs is the superior to Wedge. However, in Final Fantasy VII and Remake, they play a different role. They're more of a trio this time with the inclusion of Jesse, as well as they work together instead of having more of a boss role, even though Wedge is 20 and Biggs is 25. Now this is my favorite version of Wedge and Biggs, considering how they also have Jesse to have more of a character dynamic, such as being a trio instead of a duo. And they come off more as playful than being rough with one another. And the playfulness goes around to everyone, every member of Avalanche that's in their branch. So Barrett, Tifa, Marlene, Cloud. Which, when you think about it, is actually very small. Like, people who actually fight in their side, I guess, that would be Barrett, Tifa, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge. So 5 people. I know they do still have their connections to Avalanche, but their branch is super small. When you take a look back at chapter 4, where they're all seeing the other branch of Avalanche, and they look pretty big right off the bat, even if that may have or may have not been everyone in their group. As for the characters of Biggs and Wedge themselves, Wedge, being 20, he's the most immature out of the group, you could say, because he doesn't have as much experience as the other ones, I guess, even though it is by a few years. But you could tell he's not as reserved as Biggs, and he's a bit more playful than Jesse in a way. Like, he's not as flirty, but he's still, when it comes to Cloud, he's like, can we be friends? Can we be friends? Even if Cloud says, no, I don't want to, like, he won't quit. Wedge also has a tendency to take stray cats home, as seen in Remake, which I guess gives him a bit more depth, showing that he cares for people who seem lonely. And I guess the connections you can make is that Cloud seems lonely too, so he likes to try as much as he does with the cats. And they are a bit similar in a way, as they both have inferiority complex, like Cloud thinking he wasn't good enough as a kid, even a bit till now, even if he does put that bravado. However, Wedge tends to put his emotions out there instead of keeping it to himself like Cloud does. As for Biggs, he's more reserved, but he does still act playful and, you know, tries to get along with everyone, but he's able to read the room and read people, so he doesn't press on as Wedge and Jesse does. I do find it a bit curious as to how they all met, Apparently, they've known each other since childhood. However, with the 5-year gap between Wedge and Biggs, that means they must have all met later in childhood. Because Jesse's in between being 23 years old, Wedge is 20, and Biggs is 25. Meaning that, if they started super early, Biggs was, let's say, 5, Wedge would have just been born, so that could not have been possible. So maybe more around the age of 10 to 15 they all met. At one point, Biggs was working at the orphanage and he was teaching all the kids, and now the current person who works at the orphanage, it takes care of what he did previously. It is mentioned that both Biggs and Wedge are orphans, as they mentioned how they wanted to be part of Jesse's family for the day when they went out in chapter 4. We don't get any information on how that came to be. And previously in prior canon, in Dirge Service, it is implied that one of them had a sister, as a girl had mentioned her brother had died during the plate crashing. And then as for Wedge, we knew that he had a brother at one point in 7 who looked kind of similar to his disguised outfit. However, none of that is mentioned in Remake. As for them personally, they don't have as much disclosed like Jesse did, seeing her house, seeing that she was working at the Golden Saucer. They don't really talk much about Wedge at all, and the only thing we get from Biggs is that he worked at the orphanage. But yeah, nothing else aside from that in their backstory. However, in A Trace of Tooth Pass, there was more disclosed to us, showing that Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge were friends. When Tifa would see them time to time, they were pretty close. And when you think about it, that was Tifa and Wedge are the same age, and I believe she saw him when she was 17. So they had already made a bond at that point, and it was only until Tifa actually spoke to Jesse that they got together with her and Barrett. However, I don't know if they're an avalanche past that, as I didn't get that far into the book. But in A Way to a Smile, I believe, I think that's what the Japanese translation of it was. It's a Japanese word I can't pronounce. It is mentioned that they did speak to Aerith in the live stream once. Jesse heard Aerith talk about Cloud and Tifa, in which she, Biggs, and Wedge talked to Aerith, saying that they could never be part of the live stream for what they done, but Aerith tells them that it was because of their sacrifices that everyone was able to be safe. As for Remake, I don't know what will become of Wedge and Biggs, because we know Jesse, quote unquote, died, and we know that Biggs is alive. However, we did not see any confirmation of Wedge. I still believe he's alive. However, we didn't get to see him. We just saw him get pushed away by the Whispers. However, if you've seen a lot of anime and movies, nobody's dead until you actually see him dead yourself. If you get what I'm saying. So, I still think Wedge is alive, considering how someone had to carry Biggs to Elmira's house, and it could have just been any random person, but I feel like it would have been more Wedge than anyone else. See, Jesse's glove was at the stand next to Biggs, so I feel pretty confident that she is dead. But if she isn't, that would be quite shocking to me in a way, because they didn't show her like they did with Biggs. So if she was alive, they would have probably shown her. Or if she is 100% dead, I would like to see how they would handle the dynamic between Biggs and Wedge this time, considering how they aren't in a superior slash subordinate kind of role, and they'll probably grieve over, you know, losing Jesse if that was the case. But I really don't know how that would play out in Remake. If we would even see him being in part 2, maybe they will wait until part 3, but who knows. I know that showing Biggs was for a reason, so I don't know how that's going to affect everything, but I would like to see get more character development in this iteration, because they have become quite interesting characters, and they didn't get as much time to develop as Jesse did. Yes, that's currently right now. That's all I really have to say about the two, because weren't really getting too much information to them, especially with the background knowledge like we did Jesse. And they weren't, you know, the quote unquote love interest kind of role, so they wouldn't get as much moments with Cloud as Jesse did. But I overall enjoy their characters very much, and I would definitely love to see what they'll become in part 2 and part 3 of Remake, if there is. I still don't know how many parts there will be in Remake. I just know that I am excited to see what will become of this duo slash trio. Yo, this is JJ, and can we talk about Johnny for a second? This man was he was such a side character. He literally was in like 3 scenes in the OG. He was in the Seventh Heavens, like running out because, you know, Barrett did that thing. He's like, Chief, I'll be a better man for you, and he dips. Then we see him at the train station. He's like, I think he said the same thing. I don't even remember what he says. But he literally has one line dialogue, and you could easily miss him if you're just rushing through. Then finally you see him as Costa del Sol. I believe that's the name. Where he found himself a girlfriend, and people often mistake that girlfriend as Tifa because they have a similar motto, and she's like showering. But nah, they really had him here for like the whole Walmart arc, and he is just seen so much longer than than any side character at the moment. It just he's not even like a part of the main cast, like, you know, Avalanche or anything. He's just a goofball, and I kind of like him, but at the same time, like, why is Johnny here? Because I wanted a break from like Aerith, because, you know, she was coming off a bit too strong. Not that I hate her, but like, for like the beginning of the game, I was just like, yo, let me just relax. I just wanted to fight. You know, you took me away from Barry and Tifa, so I'm kind of upset. And then once we have Aerith out of the party, he decides to join us for this whole side quest that felt like forever, probably because I got stinking lost. And he's just here like, yo, what's up, bro? Hey, bro. Like, bro, don't do that to me, bro. Oh yeah, we did see him at the Walmart for a second, the OG. I kind of forgot about that. But this man is so dedicated for Tifa, which I don't even understand. Because Tifa is like, yeah, you go do that, because Tifa doesn't have an eye for anyone but Cloud. But this man really think he's gonna score. He's like, I'll rescue you, Tifa, even though she really kicks him when they meet up in Sector 7. Was it Sector 7? I believe so. Like, she was like, yo, don't snitch out, Avalanche. He's like, so like, I was just like, why am I seeing Johnny so much? He got beat up in the arena. Then he's like, I'll be with you for a while, bro. Then he gets, you know, digestive problem because he decides to eat some sussy food. But this man gets more screen time than Rude and Reno. I'm just like, what? We're not even gonna see him again till Costa del Sol. Yeah, he's getting so much screen time. I don't understand. And like, he is the gag character, but I just find this hilarious, because if you guys don't know, someone made a FF7 comic. It's not complete yet. I think there's like 200 pages altogether so far. It goes up to where Kate Sif, where Kate Sif gets the materia, and that's literally the last point it was updated for last time I saw. But Johnny was in that comic as a gag, and I didn't think that FF7 would actually put him the same way they put him in that comic. And that comic is not written by anyone from the FF7 team. It is written by some random person online named Obstinate Melon, something like that. Honestly, I feel like Johnny really like takes like he really takes the spot. Like he annoying, but at the same he's like that annoying that you kind of enjoy. Like you know you have that one friend who's like Johnny, who just doesn't shut up or always does the dumbest things that you just have him around because you know what, he means the best, but he just kind of always put himself in the worst situation. Now, I really want to know if they're actually going to put the Cosa del Sol when we see him. I'm probably saying this name wrong, too. I literally don't remember the name of this place. I'm saying Cosa del Sol because I'm thinking of, like, Mario Plaza or whatever that. Mario Sunshine. I think that's from Mario Sunshine. Whatever. This is my compilation. So, like, we're just sticking with it. And I know we're probably going to see Johnny's girlfriend and, like, actually, like, get something about it since they are trying to make characters detailed, and you cannot tell me they're not trying to make Johnny detailed if they had him so much. They even brought his daddy in. Like, you don't worry about my boy Johnny. Not really, but he was in there. It was, oh my goodness. They are probably gonna like show Johnny's girlfriend, and the girl's probably gonna look so close to Tifa and it's gonna confuse people. They're gonna be like, yo, Tifa, he had it bad for you. That's literally how I feel like they're gonna bring back Johnny, because Tifa's like, in the original, she's like, can I get time to talk to my friend Johnny? Because we didn't know Johnny. But Cloud does know Johnny in Remake. So I feel like they're gonna incorporate that more. Make it so like Cloud and Tifa have that talk with Johnny and his girl. I don't know. It's just my speculation. But I would kind of love to see that. He's gonna probably try to be like the big bro figure. Be like, Cloud, take care of her, alright? He's gonna say some stupid thing like, I pass her on to you. Which you know, sounds wrong. But he's gonna say it, think it is like good intention. I feel like from the minor characters, like not even side characters like Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge, the minor characters, I feel like Johnny left a mark too much that he should have. He really should have just been like a one and done thing, but Square Enix decided to keep it going, and honestly I'm kind of glad that they did. Because this goofball is just, I don't know, like it's funny to see, but at the same time it's like, oh, like why? Please don't do it. I would say justice for Johnny, but he did get his justice because he got his wallet back. He got to say goodbye to Tifa, you know, even though Tifa don't feel nothing for this man. And he got himself a girl. He's living his best life. Like, people thought Johnny was gonna fail, but he decided to come up on top. And you know what? I'm happy for this fool. I just wonder how much you're gonna bring him back in part 2. Like, I literally just want him to see him in Costa del Sol. I'm going with that name. I want to see him in Costa del Sol, and that's it. I don't want to see him unless it's like epilogue time where they decide to go back and see everyone. That's the only exception. I want to see more in Johnny. But besides that, he should not overstay his welcome. The party's over, Johnny. You need to leave. Yo, this is JJ, and let's talk about the troops, the Shinra troops. Yeah, we just see them as death fodder, and we just kind of forget that they are actually human beings and not just creatures of the wild. Which is great that they have their design, because with their design, it covers their face, so we have no clue who they are. We can't really put a face besides them, besides mindless troops, which is definitely not the case when you think about what happens later in the game when 2 soldiers come up to Cloud and say, hey, it's been a while, how you been? And not to mention the fact that Cloud was a soldier at one point too. But it's just super wild to me that we just kill these people for experience and don't give it a second thought. Like, we don't think how bad like their families would suffer from it. And we know that these troops sometimes don't want to do the things that they do, because when you see in certain cutscenes, they are told, do you want to keep your job or do you want to be demoted? You know how that will affect your family. And they're just like, okay, like they don't have anything else to do if they're not in soldier, because as Almira mentions later on, when you became a soldier, you gave up living a normal life. And we don't know how far our education goes, because later on in Road to a Smile, Way to a Smile, I don't know how the translation is, you see that Cloud doesn't know the name of fruits. It could be because Cloud, fruits and vegetables. It could be because Cloud is from a small town and whatnot. But we don't know how much education these troops have, because they were listed when they were 13. I don't know if that was the youngest, but they were pretty young for their ages, so they could only learn so much before then. And then while they're in the army, all they learn is how to fight, defense, be taken as father. There's not really much to say about their personalities, because they don't have one besides being aggressive. They can't have a personality too much. I mean, we do see the one guy who is a scaredy cat when Cloud throws the sword, but they can't have too much of a distinct personality, or they can't reveal all their names, because if they did, we would feel sorry for them. But we don't feel sorry for them because we can't see their face. They're all just known as the runts, the troops, the soldiers. So we don't know anything about them unless they're part of the plot, as the one person from the Shinra building was. Maybe he'll come back now I think about it, because they they showed it on 2 occasions where people recognized who Cloud was. And the fact that they also have to talk about Cloud's backstory, in which maybe they'll discuss more of his personal life in Soldier. Well, you know, the run section, not first class soldier. Only ones we recognize are the ones without the mask, such as the bike dude. I forgot his name already. I'm not gonna look it up. I'm too lazy for that. I need to make some videos. But you know, a lot of people like him because of his wild personality and how his hairstyle, you know, his design is a lot different from everyone else. I mean, it's not really all too different, but you know, it's pretty different from the other troops. The troops are supposed to be seen as disposable, because not only do we see them as disposable for experience, so do everyone else in Shinra of upper rank sees them like that too. Such as Scarlet, where she literally uses one. She literally uses one for her feet. Like, what? What the turd? She wowing for that. Then you see Heidegger threatening them if they don't do as he says, even if they have a pretty natural response or, you know, other suggestions they want to say, because he goes to the extreme. But he's like, who has control? It's him, not them, because they're nothing compared to everyone else. And then, you know, Hojo lets them die if anything is to happen. The only one who actually showed a bit of, you know, compassion was Rufus, and that's only because he was trying to fight off Cloud himself. I don't think it's because he likes the truth. As a matter of fact, he says, that means I own you. Because he sees them as none other than dogs. Not even dogs, because Earthworm is seen as a better companion than them. I wish I could say more about them. You honestly cannot. Because the whole point of them is to not know anything about them. They're disposable, as I mentioned multiple times. I should probably learn other definitions and other vocabulary for my videos, now that I think about it. And they're just not really central to the plot unless it is to destroy them. So yeah, that's all there is. They're troops seen as military dogs, and they're not valuable in the main scheme of things, which is kind of sad. But is the fate of many enemies in video games. Hello everyone, this is JJ Beats here. Today we will be talking about Jessie Raspberry. I don't know why I decided to start off with her, but I guess it's because she doesn't have a lot of footage to go through. Which is honestly shocking to me considering how much of a fan base she grows within Remake. But after editing all the clips together, that isn't gameplays wise, she's only on screen for about 33 minutes. I mean, I guess she does have other parts I may have forgotten to include, but she's not in a lot of in-game cutscenes. And I mean, that does make sense considering how Jessie, Biggs, and Wedge were not that important. They weren't even side characters, they're just minor characters in OG. Like, if someone were to tell me that they love Jessie since OG, I'll be surprised considering how she, Biggs, and Wedge did not have much to do. Like, you see them in the first mission and they're dead by the time you come back to the slums. I know she is referenced alongside with Biggs and Wedge in one of the later Final Fantasies. I can't recall whether it was 8 or 13. But I do know that Biggs and Wedge is are character names that do happen within the franchise. A lot of her character growth or character dynamic comes within the new content they put in Remake Part 2, where we have her mission to go to her house to retrieve her father's card in order to get into the Shinra buildings to get the bombs, which was a great inclusion because we got to learn that she was an actor. I'm not sure if she's still aspiring to be one, but we do know that she's part of Avalanche, so I doubt that's on her mind right now. That's probably something she wanted to do once they got her revenge. And what do I mean by revenge? Well, we come to find out that her dad got into an accident where he was inside a building for 12 hours unconscious and got Mako poisoning. And we know that this all happened right before she did her big debut in the Golden Saucer. So she has this outstanding background in acting, which explains her personality. So to me, Jessie seems like someone with a facade at times because she does come across as happy and whatnot, but Wedge explains to us that it's all a game to her, which I guess would be her coping mechanism for what she does, the things she do, knowing that she's responsible for anything that's happened. She's the one who creates the bombs, and that, you know, she's part of Avalanche. It's not easy thing to be a part of a terrorist group, especially when you wanted to just live your life as an actress. In A Trace of Two Paths, Two Tales, Two Traces, I don't know. In that book, the most recent book about Tifa's and Aerith's past, we learned that Jessie, Biggs, and West has been friends for a while, and that they met up with Tifa about 2 to 3 years. And we come to learn that Jessie is Tifa's first female friends, as Tifa grew up with only boys around her. Boys her age, to say, because there were, you know, adult females and males around too. But Jessie's and Tifa's relationship is important to Tifa, which would make sense as to why Tifa grows disheartening when Jessie dies. We also learn that Barrett wasn't a part of Avalanche originally, and that he later joined up after the 3 did, and he decided to be leader because he thought he was more of the leading role, which they all agreed to because they didn't really want to put up a fight and they had no problem with it. Now, why is Jessie important? Well, she's not important in the fact that, the whole world will end if she's not around, but she is important to Tifa and Barrett getting angry with Shinra. Well, more angry towards Shinra. And with this remake, they decided to make Jessie a bit more flirtatious. What am I kidding? A lot more flirtatious towards Cloud, but we all know it's more in a joking way, as Wedge did state that do not take what she says to heart, that she just loves to play. Life is a game, and the stage is to play. Or what? The play is the stage, and the stage is to play out. But I do remember that was part of the thingy. To be honest, I think it's because she was quote unquote part of the love triangle, quote unquote, more like love square, pentagon, octagon. There's okay, so it's Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, right? And then in OG it was Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, then Yuffie and Barrett. But like Yuffie and Barrett were more of jokes, and now in Remake Part 1, it was Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, and Jessie. So, but I honestly think it's because of the love triangle that she got Love Square. She got more recognition because people like to root for the underdog, and because of her personality, I feel like. So, she doesn't get seen a lot after this point because she dies, unless in Part 2 she comes back alive. I highly doubt it, but in A Way to a Smile she is mentioned again by Barrett, in which he has so much regret for letting them die. He's like, it should have been me, why did I let you guys die? Like, he regrets that. Whenever he has a little shred of hope, it all crumbles down when he's reminded of them. And he does eventually learn to move forward, but that is a huge part of his character in Road to a Smile. Way to a Smile? Man, I always get these titles confused, man. I'm sorry about that, but you know what? It's kind of hard when I can't get a hold of some of this material that I need. But, and all in all, I feel like there isn't as much as I thought there would be when it comes to Jessie. It's good that they actually included all this extra content we got a remake, because without it, she would have just been like how she was in OG, just one of those plots to get the characters motivated, at least for Barrett and Tifa in OG. Because honestly, it didn't really make much sense for Cloud to get depressed in OG when he was gone for most of it and he barely knew him. But in Remake, it does make a lot more sense when everyone's distraught by the loss of the trio. Which, that's why I do view them as a trio. They did give Jessie more of a personality to see her as herself. But I really cannot say the same about Wedge and Biggs. Speaking of Biggs, I literally thought that they were supposed to be a couple. Not only because of the bridges I would see, but because I'm not sure if this was part of a Miles plane, but I thought that Jessie and Biggs were hugging at the train station. That may have been a mod instead of the actual original game, because something was wrong with my game. But not only that, her mom also mentioned something about Biggs. And plus with the headband, I don't know, I just made the connection that those two would have been a couple or had been a couple at one point. Not only that, the gloves that Biggs has at the end of the game also remind me of Jessie. So I'm not sure if there is something going on between them at one point. But if part 2 explains that, that would actually be really nice. Because I guess that will also show the audience that, yeah, she is a little bit of a player. But we'll see what happens. It's not gonna be a huge variation, huge derivance from the original, so I'm not sure we're gonna get that. I will say that she definitely did make her mark one of the more memorable characters, and I can see why some people like her, especially when they realize, you know, she has her downfall 2/3 in the way of the game when she dies. So that was my thoughts on Jessie Raspberry. Someone who loves to play because life is a stage. Gotta live the way you want to, live with positivity, live with tragedy, live with failure, live with success. You just gotta keep moving forward. Put a smile when you can, even when you don't feel like it. And do have your moments of grief and loss and whatnot. But just to realize that you don't have much time on Earth, so you just gotta keep moving forward. Thank you everyone who decided to sit through this and watch my first real video on the compilation of Final Fantasy VII. It might be super rough